Was about 7 or 8 years old and went with my family to this man-made lake family park place in South Georgia. Basically a big, dug, out pond that the owner put a bunch of beach sand and palm trees around and charged admission for people to come, park their cars, grill and swim for the day. Also had a big, unsafe-as-hell waterside that kids got hurt on. So where my family would park was in front of this little island. That was a clump of sand about 30 yards off the shoreline. I was not the best swimmer, but the depth was just above my head so I could bob up and down and bounce out to this island. Bouncing out to that little island one day we were there, my foot came down onto what felt like a face, felt what was a nose on my toe. The thing I remember is the feeling of hair flowing between my toes, that feeling of fine hair waving in water. I freaked out and for the longest time just sat on the shore, was a little kid and did not think of anything about it. I can still remember the scared parents going around yelling this kid's name, asking if anyone had seen this little boy. They pulled his body from under the water right in front of that island. I'm 47 now and can still remember the feeling of that hair between my toes.
When my grandparents bought their house for a family of 10, my grandpa found a fake wall upstairs. He tore it down to make more room for the family. Behind the wall were children's clothes and play toys, almost like they walked off the room in a hurry. My mom told me stories of sitting in her room and something circling the walls around her, sounding like wallpaper being torn. When she moved out, my aunt moved into the same room. She would wake up with pictures she hung up laying on her chest in the morning. My cousins also have stories of hearing footsteps coming up the stairs and stopping outside their door in the middle of the night. I still go upstairs at their house because it's always cold and I get weird vibes up there. Even in my adult life, I have scary dreams that take place in their upstairs.
I woke up one morning and went about my routine. I noticed the knob of my stove was turned on, and so I thought I left it overnight and turned it off. Did the garbages, ate breakfast, checked on my car battery. Then I went back to the stove and the same knob was turned on again. So I thought I must have bumped it and turned it off. Sat down at the table drinking coffee and another knob was turned on at a different location. At this point I knew I did not bump or touch anything. I've lived in this house for a long time and that never happened. You also have to physically turn the knob. So I turned it off, said a prayer, and asked the spirit to leave. Not the scariest experience, but annoying and dangerous.
Not exactly terrifying for me, but around 12 years ago I was sleeping in my bed, which was in front of my mirror closet doors. I woke up suddenly with a jolt of energy coursing through my body. I stretched my arms and felt something staring at me to my left between my dresser and a little night table. Saw nothing there. Then my gaze drifted to the mirrors, and there was a small figure standing there. Its head wasn't turned toward the closer mirror at the time. My eyes went back to the spot between the table and dresser, and then went back to the mirror. Repeated that same movement one more time to be sure I wasn't just seeing things. Then my sight locked toward the mirror that somehow reflected the image of this child standing right beside my bed. And I just said, "Well, hello there." Just as I said my greeting, its head turned toward the mirror and looked right at me. I said, Interesting. Soon after blinking a few times, it disappeared. Needless to say, it added more to my curiosity toward the non-physical aspects of existence.
The year was 1986 in North Alabama, and I was 6 at the time. I shared a room with my brother at the time. He's 10 years older than me, and gone to football practice at the time. The time was around 6 p.m. in the afternoon, and my parents were arguing in the living room. I was sitting on the bed. I saw a hand in the corner of the big mirror we had sitting on top of the dresser drawer in our room. The hand kept waving at me, and I looked around as if I was imagining this, but no, it was real. So after some waving, it stopped and descended in the mirror. So I thought my brother was pranking me, so I looked behind the dresser and no one was back there. I sat back on the bed terrified, and the hand came back and motioned for me to come closer to the mirror. I freaked out and ran to my parents and told them what was happening. They came to our room, looked around, and you guessed it, no hand. They asked where my brother was, and remembered he was at football practice. My dad looked all through the room and found nothing, and the hand never showed back up in the mirror again. I've moved this mirror with me to another city and came back. Now the mirror is in storage and the hand never came back. Funny disclaimer to why the memory is so vivid is the hand was Caucasian and were black. A white family stayed there from the 1920s through 1969. When my dad bought the house through a GI Bill, he was a Vietnam vet.
When I was in high school, my friend's house was haunted by one ghost. I was getting ready in a bedroom, sitting on the floor using a tall body mirror to do my makeup. And all of a sudden, my focus shifts and I see a figure standing in the doorway behind me. In the reflection, As soon as I turn around, there's nothing there. But it was horrifying. I later saw her in full form, standing at the top of the stairs in a white Victorian-style dress, shaking her head no. We were sneaking out to the park that night and got chased and almost kidnapped. I think she was trying to warn us. Never saw her again after that.